Elon is coming for you, and he's gonna mess you up in terms of safety because he doesn't care about safety. Not at Tesla, not at SpaceX, not if you listen to Reuters and The Verge and a lot of the other clickbait news media that loves to lie for their own personal benefit. That's what they do. That's what they're good at. I don't care for that myself, not my jam, so we're going to get to the bottom of it. I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla Weekend. A quick thanks to newest YouTube channel member, Zark. These are the people who support non-clickbait news that actually tells you what's real, news that provides perspective. We take the facts and we extract the BS. That's what we do. You can support me on Patreon or on YouTube or on X as a subscriber. All these ways make it possible for me to do my job without the clickbait. So what we've got going on here, Tesla workers. When I saw this on November 21st, I was shocked. Tesla workers report explosions, concussions, and grisly robot injuries at Texas factory. Wow, new reports of increased worker injury are unearthing at the Austin factory. I thought, wow, this is going to be big news. I don't want to support The Verge being on the verge of news, as they so often are. So I'm going to go and find another source for it. And I couldn't because it's stupid. Fortunately, Umar is here, news writer of electric vehicle lifestyle and things that plug in via USB-C. Okay, so let's take a look here. The information reported some of the gruesome incidents that have occurred, where 1 out of every 21 workers were reportedly hurt in 2022. That's bad. 1 out of every 21. Is that bad? That's like 4.5%. Oh, one incident, that's called an anecdote. An injury report submitted to Travis County by Tesla reportedly had a robot-related incident that doesn't match one from witness accounts. Okay, but yeah, okay. There's a lot of incidents at a big factory. Do you know how many people work there? Thousands and thousands. Another worker claims the molding machine didn't correctly seal and often spat out molten metal. So Tesla uniquely has a safety program where you get rewarded for safety. They have an internal system that allows people to report safety deficiencies and get them addressed. That's why, and I know this will sound crazy, they have the lowest accident rates in the industry. And you know, there's no talk of, Tesla Fremont also has a torrid history with worker injuries. Employees there have a higher injury rate than the national average. And they've been accused of underreporting injuries. And by the way, if you've ever worked anywhere, I guarantee you that place has underreported injuries. I don't think I've ever filed an OSHA complaint for any injury I've had, because my injuries were always insignificant. They rose to the OSHA level, but they were insignificant. I have a little scar here from where I bumped into an angle grinder. I'm not filing a complaint about that. I don't know what that would do. I ignored proper safety procedures. That's on me. I didn't lose time. I just went and grabbed a Band-Aid, and that was sufficient. So I don't know. Restaurants, all of it. So let's look at what the automobile industry looks like here. Automobile. Metal crown closure and other metal stamping except automotive. Okay. Automotive environmental controls, not that. Light duty motor assembly and manufacturing has an injury rate of 5.9. That's 50% higher than Tesla's. Tesla's is at like 4.6. So this is 1.3% higher, or rather 1.3 points higher, making it about 20% higher. It's much higher. They're below the industry average. Automobile manufacturing, 5.7. 5.7, so that would be 1 in every 16 workers at a normal factory has been involved in an injury in a given year, versus 1 out of 21 Tesla factories are safer. Why is that not in the article? Now, mind you, this ends in 2020, but when you find newer reporting, you'll find it's consistent. Motor vehicle manufacturing, injury rate of 6.3 versus Tesla's at 4.6. Tesla's factories are not more dangerous, they're less dangerous. That's what's not being reported. And they said, well, it's even Fremont factory, it said, has an injury rate higher than, they have a higher injury rate than the national average. Well, yes, this is the national average. This is the auto average. And Tesla's is right about in between, about halfway in between. That is higher than the national average, lower than the national average for automobile manufacturing. And look at this. If it wasn't for Tesla having a low number of 4.6, this number would be higher because there'd be fewer workers to divide those remaining injuries between. Why can't you cover that? Over 600 undisclosed workplace injuries at Elon Musk's SpaceX. Now, this is a re-report from a Reuters article. The Reuters article is garbage. I will not link to it. And I am seeing this message because of ad or script is blocking. Yeah, don't feel bad about ad blockers. Ad blockers are a necessary non-evil. I use uBlock Origin, also not a sponsor. They're great. It does the trick. So how dangerous? This is a great post from Per Aspera Ad Mars on Reddit. A recent Reuters investigation raised an important issue about safety in the space industry, but the article is full of inaccuracies. It's also important to address them so that people have a clear picture. This is long. I don't know how much of it I'll get through because it's long, but through interviews and government records, there were at least 600 injuries of SpaceX workers. Misleading. What they claim to be injuries throughout the article are injuries and illnesses. They do admit it themselves at the end of the article, after it's too late, after everyone's already formed an opinion and probably stopped reading. The data used to calculate also includes a small number of illnesses. There it is. Besides that, 600. Is that many? If you calculated it, for the guided missile and space vehicle manufacturing industry, in which SpaceX classifies itself, the number, if you were to have the average number of injuries for that industry, it would be about 460. But it doesn't include the contractors. And for those other industries, and the subcontractors are more likely to have injuries than the company itself. Since SpaceX doesn't farm it out, it stays in-house. So it's at least 10% above of the space industry, but 3 times less than the U.S. average. So that chart we were looking at earlier, which shows an injury rate right here for the national average, SpaceX is down about here, way down there, way down Sally. The lax safety culture. Since LeBlanc's death in 2014, which hasn't been previously reported, wrong. It was reported to OSHA the next day, covered by local media the day after that, and you can just search and find it. And the OSHA investigate. If you're going to get that part wrong, you're going to get all of it wrong. The lax safety culture. More than a dozen current and former employees said it stems from his disdain for bureaucracy, and it's leading an urgent quest to create a refuge in space for the dying Earth. No, it's to make humanity multiplanetary. Fact check it. An editor should have caught that. I was quoted in a Wall Street Journal article years ago, and the fact checkers called me and said, look, you made some pretty bold claims. We're going to need some proof. You said you've got a Tesla logo tattoo somewhere. Can I see it? And I had to send them a picture. And I said, can you just leave it out of the article? And they said, no, because if we have to discount that, we have to discount everything you said. I said, that's fair. That's a good point. For data 2022, reveal an injury rate that far exceeds the space industry average. The average was 0.8 in relatively stable for many years. No, Reuters investigator claims the value of 0.8 is the average for the space industry, while it really consists of 3 subsets. Guided missiles and manufacturing, guided missile and space vehicle propulsion unit, and other guided missile and space vehicle parts. The values are 0.8, 1.2, and 1.4. So they just took the one with the lowest of the 3 subsets and said, that's the average. That's not. This is not an error of omission. This is a lie. Respectively, for the space industry as a whole, and the average, it's actually closer to 0.9. The U.S. average is 3. So, yeah, here's some examples. SpaceX in Redmond, 0.8, because they make Starlinks. It's not a very action-packed place. Launches of the Falcon 9 at Cape Canaveral, 0.9. Pretty good. Then we've got Relativity Space, 1.6. Why aren't they in the article? SpaceX at 1.8. Blue Origin at 1.8. Sierra Space at 1.8. SpaceX for their rocket engine test facility in McGregor, 2.7. Higher. United Launch Alliance, way higher. And the Starship production at 4.8. Still safer than an automobile factory, safer than a shipyard. But they're saying it's, the fact that an injury rate of 21.5 per 100 workers, 27 times the average. The facility employed only 50 people, and 16 of them were injured. So you get one. Incorrect. The figures they represent contradict themselves. Most likely, original data referred to about 50 people, and 74 to be exact. So to answer this question, we need to go back to 2016, building a launch pad, and any educated guesses? SpaceX filled Kennedy Space Center with hundreds of workers hastily completing the launch pad. Those workers were noted in the statistics, but since they were in place only for the last 3 months of the year, they didn't show up in employment statistics of the facility. Because the numbers are a mess. They're a mess all over. A dozen worker safety experts said their poor safety record underscores the perils of working in the lightly regulated and fast expanding U.S. space industry. Lightly regulated? Oh boy. All the data that Reuters has provided so far suggests the SpaceX records are at least 10% worse than the industry average and 3 times better than the national average. And that is the poor safety record. The U.S. space industry does an excellent job with its level of regulation, consistently showing the level of injuries and illnesses 3 times below that of any other average job in the U.S. SpaceX believed it shouldn't be held to the same standards. Misleading. It's all... SpaceX has fewer injuries and illnesses. Oddly enough, Reuters seemed to have ignored all of these events, except for the ULA case immediately after it and SpaceX case 9 years after it. So, it's nonsense. At SpaceX, Musk played with the device in closed-quarter office settings, said the engineer, who at one point feared Musk would set someone's hair on fire. The not a flamethrower incident. How does this irresponsible billionaire allow himself to risk ruining his workers' hairstyle for weeks, if not months? This outrageous fact should be an OSHA investigation of its own. The not a flamethrower is really not that dangerous, you guys. That's why it's legal to sell it. It is the dumbest complaint I can think of. You think a rocket facility is going to burn down because of the not a flamethrower? It's a hit piece, and it's a poorly done one at that. Fines are capped by law and pose little deterrent. Nonsense. OSHA's goal is to inspect and enforce, and they do. OSHA and Cal OSHA have fined the billionaire's rocket company. Why you gotta say it like that? I mean, at least you're wearing your bias on your sleeve. A total of $50,000 for violations stemming from 1 worker's death and 7 serious safety incidents. The bulk of the money should go to the affected workers instead of agencies, but statistics on private court cases are probably not available to Reuters. If there was any kind of settlement, you wouldn't know about it. And the big thing is they love to say, oh, there's all these unreported injuries. Well, they are reported. That's how you know about them. That's how you know they exist. Oh, these guys, they're desperate. And for the clicks, they get them, which is why I'm not linking their article, because it's not research, it's a smear piece, plain and simple. And I'm not going to reward that. But I do thank you guys for coming and watching and hanging out and rewarding me with a click. I work hard to earn that click, and I hope I've done it. Subscribe if you haven't. Like, follow, do all that stuff. Check me out on Twitter at 4kpodcast, x.com. And, you can help me out. You can support me. You can do whatever you want or not. It's all good. But what did I miss? What did I misunderstand? Leave it in the comments below. And for everybody else, stay tuned, stay juicy, and I can't wait to hear from you clever robots in space.